Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear brother, and the message that he sent to me reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My name is Name Hidden. I am a 63-year-old man now. I am a retired employee of ZESA, the Zimbabwe Electricity Supply Authority, where I worked for over 3 decades. I have spent the last 17 years of my life haunted by the choices that I made. All these choices, I made them in the name of ambition. And today I want to unburden my soul. I have a secret that I have been keeping in my heart for the longest time. 17 years ago, I was in the prime of my career, fighting tooth and nail for the coveted position of being a regional manager. It was a highly competitive environment, and I had 5 colleagues of mine who were just as determined as I was to secure that same position. They were all good men. I don't want to lie to you. Like the last 2, those ones that I sacrificed after I had done the rituals, those ones, what hurts me the most is that we used to go to the same church, but they were going to different branches, but we were in the same, almost in the same neighborhood. So each and every big Sunday, I knew that I'll be meeting up with them. Yet, even though these men, they were fellow Christians whom I used to go to the same church with, but I was left with no choice. I had to sacrifice as them. I had to sacrifice them as well. They were dedicated, hardworking, and they deserved the promotion as well that I got. But I wanted that position more than anything, and I was willing to do whatever that I could so as to get that position. In my desperation, I was really desperate. I remember that there was a time when we were supposed to place a tombstone on top of one of my uncle's grave. So whilst we were there, that was when the traditional healer whom we had invited, like before you do that traditional ceremony, you have to get a traditional healer who will help you to bring the spirit of your beloved back into the compound. So I then spoke with that witch doctor, and I had heard stories about his powers, about how he could remove obstacles from anyone's path, no matter how big they were, and how he used to go around giving people good luck. So then we spoke, and he told me that some of the things that I needed, he did not have the charms, and we were supposed to do it another time because he wanted to focus on the big job that he had at that time. So I then visited him later on. When I visited him, this I did in secret without the knowledge of my wife. I traveled to the village. I had lied to my wife that there was this other project that I was supposed to go and supervise, but I returned back in the thick of the night to the village, traveling all the way from Harare, returning back to our village. I then visited him, and I confessed to him all of my desires, my fears, and my willingness to go to any length. He listened to me carefully, and then he handed me 5 eggs. He said that these eggs that I have given you, my son, we are going to be using them for the rituals. He said that each and every egg, it represented the life of those men that I was now calling my enemies since I was fighting with them. The egg represents life, he told me. As the egg will break, so too will the life of the person that it represents will break. He then gave me a mighty marker, that pen, and then he told me that I was supposed to write the name of each and every person. So each and every person that I wanted to sacrifice in that ritual, I had to write the name and the surname on that egg. One by one, I did that. The ritual was simple, but it was very sinister. So what I was supposed to do is that I was to take each and every egg late at night. Then I had to call out the name that will be written on that egg, call out the name of one of my colleagues, and smash it in the dead of the night. This I had to do whilst I'll be standing at a crossroad, so close to the suburb where me and my wife were staying at that time. There was a little bushy area that will take you to the high density location. So there was a crossroad. I used to walk there even though I would be so scared because there were some thieves that used to hide in the bushes, but because of the rituals and the charms that were given to me, I was never attacked when I was doing all of these rituals. So each and every time when I wanted one person to be dead, then I had to go and do that. I will stand in the middle of the crossroads in that bushy area. Then the witch doctor had told me that after I would have done that, then they were going to die one by one. And indeed, this is what started happening. The first time when I saw that the charms were working, this was after one of my other colleague, he had gone to watch this other football match. It was Dynamos versus Highlanders. You know that when these two teams, whenever they are playing, like the atmosphere will be very tense. There was something that happened there, and then he had a fight with another guy. So when this guy fell ill, they just said that it was because of the commotion that had happened when he was attending that soccer match. So I had done that ritual each and every night. I would break an egg and imagine myself rising above them, taking the position that I believed that was rightfully mine. I had no regrets at that time, only a burning desire to succeed. So within the first 3 months, one of my colleague was dead. When my colleague had died, it was as if it was just a heart disease. Then one after the other, they started dying, and they all died from the same disease. So at the place where I was working, the death that were occurring at that time, it shocked almost everyone. But as for me, this was my own. But as for me, I was really happy. After each and every funeral, what I had to do is that I had to visit the grave of that person that I would have killed, and I had to place a single sorghum seed in the soil. I was told by the traditional healer that when the spirit of that person that I would have killed in that ritual, when it will be raining season, when the spirit tries to rise up so as to fight with me, that sorghum seed, it will be the one that will be keeping the spirit of that person deep in his grave. So I got the promotion. I became the regional manager, and with that title, it came with power and money and respect that I always wanted. But as the years went by, the weight of what I had done began to affect me. Then I started to have high blood pressure, because sometimes I would hear voices that would be telling me that whatever that I did in the future, I was going to suffer. So I kept on going to different traditional healers. I can say that from that time when all of my colleagues had died, then I kept on going to different traditional healers so as to make sure that their spirits will never affect me. Then as time went on, I think that some of the charms that were given to me by the traditional healers, they started expiring, especially after my wife had passed away. I started having nightmares. I would see the faces of my colleagues, and I would see them coming to me, and then they would drag me into their graves. And in my dreams, I would see those sorghum seeds that I had planted on top of their graves as if they would be sprouting out of my body, and it was really painful. This would happen in my dreams. Finally, I visited this other traditional healer. When I went to that traditional healer, I was then told that I had to choose amongst one of my daughters. So I chose one of my daughters who does not even know that the reason as to why she remains unmarried, it is because of what I did to her. I went to that traditional healer, and I was then told that I had to bring her. Since she was very young at that time, my daughter, my last born, she was only 8 years at that time when I went with her to a traditional healer. So we went to Mufakose. So I dedicated my daughter to these spiritual husbands, 5 of them. So you can just imagine, as a woman having 5 partners that can make love to you in the spiritual realm, you end up not even caring about men. If she is dating a man, any mistake that the man will do, then my daughter will tell me that I do not want to date him anymore, and I also encourage her. My daughter, she is in Australia. She remains unmarried, and she does not have a child. This is my own confession, Brother Nashi. I am staying here in my own village. I bought a very big plot of land. That is where I am staying, but still I regret all the things that I did when I was still staying in Harare. I was fighting for this position that brought with it a lot of business connections, but now I regret what I did. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Yo.